Boy, am I ever gonna piss some people off today. Gene, G Squared Tactical out at the range today, as promised with the Springfield XD Mod 3 and the Smith & Wesson SD9 2.0 as a comparison to which I like better, which I think is better, and try to remember it is just my opinion. So if you're a fanboy of either one, try not to get too butthurt. Again, it's just my opinion. So I, some people might say, well, I have a lot of people that ask me to compare. I'm going to lean up against the tailgate here. But I have a lot of people that ask me to compare guns. And where they get these ideas about comparison is crazy to me. Will you compare the Staccato CS to the Hellcat Pro? Like, dude, that's not even comparable, bro. You know, some guns are competition, some duty, some pocket carry. There's all types of reasons that a gun is made, and some of them are just not fair to compare, right? You got to be fair. So this is a probably one of the closest, most fair comparisons I've probably ever done. They both come with one 16 round magazine. Magazine prices are about the same, right? They're almost identical in size and identical in price. Both of them can be had for $2.99 plus tax, and it's super comparable is what I'm trying to say. I'm not being unfair with this comparison because they are both in the same price range. So we're going to start out with the SD9 2.0. Since I've had this gun, or the VE model of it, sold it, had the 40 of it, sold it as well. And I never liked Smith & Wesson triggers in general. They came out with the 2.0, the 2.0, the Performance Center triggers. Instead of having that broke back hinge trigger or whatever they had, they went with this center blade safety, more flat, supposed to break at a 90 degree. They managed to make a worse trigger. Not sure how they pulled that off, but they did. The trigger sucks. I can't believe after 3 or 4 years now of making these newer triggers on the 2.0 models that they have not listened to the complaints from people about how horrible the trigger is. My God, do better. On some of the Performance Center models of the M&P, you're charging $800-900 for a trigger that might be slightly better than a high point trigger. Get mad if you want. Trigger's horrible. I'm sorry. If you think it's great, I genuinely feel bad for you and how depraved you have been for good triggers, because the trigger is horrible. So I don't know if you could tell while I was shooting, it was aggravating me so bad that not only was I not shooting very accurately, but also a good bit slower, seemingly trying to find the sights and stuff. And because the trigger is so gritty, it's like fingernails down a chalkboard. Literally, it's giving me that feeling through my body, if you will. It is a super gritty trigger, like all of them are. I get it, it's a budget friendly gun, but come on, bro. You can do better than that. Horrible trigger. So the take up is about the same as it is on the XD, about the same as you would expect on a carry gun, a duty gun, if you will, duty trigger, carry trigger, whatever you want to call it. Take up is about the same. It's not really gritty up to the take up. The grit comes in when it actually breaks, and then, oh man, on its progression back forward, it's like sandpaper. I mean, there is a little grit in the trigger, sure, on the progression back towards the wall. It does hit a wall. It kind of has a little tiny bit of a rolling break. Breaks at about 90 degrees. Reset. Oh, check this out. So we have what we call a false reset. Listen to this. I'll put it at the lapel mic, see if you can hear it. Oh, there it is. There it is. Not only does it sound like a reset, but it feels like a reset, right? They had the problem with it when they released it initially. What's it been now? A year and a half, 2 years? It's still there. The false reset is still there. Some people say, well, it goes away, it works itself out. Well, mine never did. Mine never worked itself out. Sorry. about your luck, but mine always had a false reset. So that's not the reset, although it does feel like it. Again, that's probably why you saw me seemingly dip of death a couple times, something like that. I thought it reset, but it did not, right? There's your actual reset. It is audible, doesn't push back on your finger at all, almost all the way out, right? Whatever, don't care. I don't care about resets and things like that. You know I'm not a trigger snob, but that grit is hard. That grit gets me in a big way. And it's insane that the grit seemingly is worse on the way back out than it is coming back towards the wall, right? So there you go. Hear that? False reset. There's the actual reset. It's not great. Trigger's horrible. All right. Quit talking about the trigger. Get over on the XDM trigger. So the XDM trigger, has about the same amount of take up. Actually, a little more of a rolling break, but it's smooth. It's predictable, and there is zero grit in the trigger. So it breaks. I didn't hear any false resets. Everything seems good. We're coming back. We're coming back. Finally resets. Again, it's not super tactile either. It's audible, really not super tactile in that it pushes back on your finger, but the trigger is night and day better. Like, oh my God, it's just smooth. The biggest thing I could say about the trigger is for a budget-friendly gun, a duty or carry trigger, it is a predictable trigger. It breaks when you think or feel like that it will. Listen, it could be out of 100, it could be 90 on the trigger scale, like 100 being the worst and 1 being the best, and it still beats this because this is one above a high point. I'm sorry, I hate to be that way about it, but I spend my own money on these guns, and it is horrible. It is horrible, horrible trigger. Do better. Okay, stippling. So stippling on the SD9, obviously, way better, way more aggressive. It doesn't feel better in your hand, but you do feel like you got a good purchase. It's not going to slip out of your hand. The front and the back strap have those needle type checkering on there, and you do feel as though you got a tremendous purchase on there, right? Decent, sandpaper-ish on the side. So the stippling is definitely better on the SD9. However, for some reason, right dead in the center of and all of the SD, the SD 40, VE, all of those were the same exact way. It looks like someone sealed up the mag well, and they tapped in a Schrader valve in the bottom of it, and they blew the center of the grip up with a bicycle pump. It's just like, I don't understand why it's so fat right in the center of the grip. So for me anyway, and my hands, again, everybody's hands is different. I wouldn't make a huge deal over it, but it just seems, it makes it ergonomically not that great, right? And stippling is better, believe it or not, because, Springfield was famous for their grip zone. There's not really the grip zone necessarily on this one. So stippling on this one's definitely a lot slicker, definitely have better texturing on the SD9. However, the ergonomics on this one are so much better with the finger grooves across the front, the slightly different angle, and the way that the beaver tail is angled. It just feels so much better in the hand, right? So oddly enough, even though the SD has better stippling, this one feels better in the hand, so you feel like you have a better purchase on it, and you get a more natural shot, right? Sights, okay? So the sights on this one, although they are steel sights, just like on the Springfield, and the Springfield has the small white dots at the rear, this one has the Smith & Wesson has the large white dots at the rear and a white dot on the front. which is not that great. You have the fiber optic red on the front of the Springfield sights, way better. Optic ready on the Springfield, not optic ready on the SD. Again, am I being fair with the comparison? That's what someone to say. Well, yeah, blah, blah, blah. This one's optic ready. That one's not optic ready. So you're not really being fair. Again, $299, $299, one 16 round magazine. And if I can find the magazine for the Springfield, which I cannot, oh, here it is. One 16 round magazine. I can't help that they made this one optic ready with a better sight setup for the same price. Maybe Smith & Wesson should step their game up. I don't know what to tell you on that. So either way, you have a metal guide rod on the Springfield. So I'm going to take this down here. You have the two-piece metal guide rod on the Springfield, right? And let's see, let's look in the SD here. Let's see what we got here. SD is clear. Take it down like a, take it down like a Glock. And let's see what we have here. I think it's polymer. So yeah, we have a polymer. Yeah, we have a polymer guide rod that sounds like it might break. I'm not totally sure on the spring. And I'm not hating on them. I'm not hating on them. I'm not hating on Smith & Wesson. Again, I will tell you that this gun has always ran. I've never had malfunctions with the SD9 VE or anything else. I can tell you of a certainty that the slide on the XD is way smoother. Absolutely. And again, I have shot at 1,200 rounds. Complete grid on that. And so, I have shot this one 1,200 rounds, so it is broke in pretty good. Okay. But, so what else? What else can we talk about here? Takedown, way better on the Springfield. I love the, what is it? The SIG, FN type takedown. You do have to pull the trigger on this one, whereas on the FN, I don't believe you do. But this has the old Glock type takedown on it. So way easier to, you know, field strip this one, no question about that. So on the slide, the 2.0 was supposed to have better serrations, right? Physically, they look better. Aesthetically, they look better. Functionally, not so much. I mean, you have 3 up front, and they're almost at the very tip of the slide. And, you know, you're basically muzzling the web of your hand to get way down there to manipulate that, because they did not bring them back very far, right? And the rear serrations, I don't know. I think I prefer the serrations on the 2.0. Maybe they should have kept the serrations on the 1.0 if that's what it was, right? So as you can see on the Springfield, the serrations, although maybe not quite as deep as on the Smith & Wesson, they do come back closer to the rear of the gun, so you don't have to get so close to the end of the gun to do your press check or to manipulate. They do come back further, and as you can see, very easy to use. They're not very deep, but they are aggressive and very usable, and they do come over the top of the gun, unlike on the Springfield, right? Better serration to the back, and this H&K like ledge that is not plastic. I don't know why people ask that. This H&K type ledge at the back that really gives you a very nice purchase on it to rack your slide. So what else would you guys want to know about? Shoots better. The XD, one of the most shocking things about the XD Mod 3 to me, as I've never been a huge fan of the Springfield either. If you go back and watch my videos, right, you'll know that I've never had great and awesome, wonderful things to say about the XD Springfield or any Springfield polymer guns either, right? But you got to give credit where credit is due. I shot very, very accurately with this, a lot faster. Again, that's got a lot to do with the trigger and the sights, right? This one does not have, I've never put an optic on it, but it is optic ready. And let's see, mag release. So they're about the same. I really won't complain or grieve too much about that. They both have, the Springfield has a 3-slot pick rail and 2 on the SD. So you have that. I'm trying to think what people would ask about. No question about it. Just holding it. Say what you want to say. I bought my first gun when I was 18. I'm 48. What is that math? 28, 38, 40, 30 years. 30 years I've been messing with guns, holding guns, shooting guns. Don't tell me that I'm crazy when I tell you that I can pick most guns up and I can tell you of the quality of the build over another, or if it's even a quality gun at all, just by simply holding it. I absolutely can. I've been picking them up for 30 years. Picking this up, you can just tell by holding it, it is a better quality build. Now you say, well, that's not fair. Again, this is a budget-friendly offering from Smith & Wesson. Again, they're both $2.99, have the same magazines, basically the same gun in a lot of ways as far as length, height, and all of those types of things. So maybe Smith & Wesson should sell it for $199. You know, since they're selling this for $2.99, right? Maybe Smith should sell it for maybe $199, maybe even $99. Then you could make the argument, well, it's a $99 pistol, so what do you expect? But they're both comparable in price, in size, and every other way. Hands down, not even close. Honestly, I was hoping that maybe it had been so long since I had shot the SD9. I was hoping that maybe I would come out here and maybe I was just being unfair. But again, I feel like I've wasted my money on a gun. Listen, if you bought this, it definitely works. It definitely can be trained with and you can be accurate with it, and it is reliable. I will give them that. It does go bang when it needs to go bang. So if you have bought this, you're using it for self-defense, I'm totally not berating you about that. It's fine. You made a good choice for what you needed at that time, and there's nothing wrong with it. But I'm telling you, if you're deciding I need a $299 pistol and you have this as an option, please buy this. The XD Mod 3 from Springfield, night and day better than the SD9 2.0 or VE from Smith & Wesson. If you are going to get a Smith & Wesson anyway because you're a fanboy, then go ahead, get you an Apex trigger ASAP, very first thing. Maybe get you a titanium or a metal guide rod and some different sights, you know, some fiber optic sights, and maybe it would get up there somewhere around the XD. Sure, you're gonna have to spend about $250, $300 to do that, but to each their own if you like Springfield. But all day, every day, and as they say, twice on Sunday, the XD Mod 3, not even a question. And if you know me and how much I've talked smack about polymer frame, you know, Springfield in the past, and how that I don't really like them, I'm not been a big fan of them, you know that that's saying something coming from me. Thanks so much for watching today. Again, I'm not trying to trash this gun. If you own it, it does work, and that's all I've ever said about it is it works. Make sure you know Jesus Christ as your Savior, the most important thing you can do. Unfortunately, we were all born sinners, nothing we can do about it. Christ paid that payment on the cross. Don't wait till it's too late, thinking that you're right and I'm wrong, and then find out otherwise. Make sure you take care of that today. Today is the day of salvation. Please go over, check me out on Patreon. The only way I'm going to continue, me and my wife's talked about it, the only way I'm going to continue to be able to put up the content that I've been putting up in the new year is to get some type of outside support other than YouTube. Patreon is a great way to do that. Go over, check me out, $5 a month. We're going to try to get some $10 tiers up there in the new year. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe. If you think you have already in the past, make sure that you are subscribed. And as always, be blessed, and to God be the glory.